Welcome to the Juice Radio Talk Show. 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 Reality TV, church reviews. Let's talk happy love and marriage lifestyle. Come and talk with us. Come and share with us. Come and laugh with us. Come on and pray with us.
Regina Nicole is a special guest. You should be following your lead. Bless. Subscribe on YouTube. Listen on podcasts. We live on IG and Facebook. This episode is sponsored by Truth and Triumph Ministries.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Juice Radio and Talk Show. It is time to get this business stuff going, y'all. Now, I love it. Pastor Grant is joining us back again here for a great Money Monday series. You guys grab your notebooks. Come on in here. Get your questions and together and join us as we have this conversation about business risk management. Y'all come on in here. Hey, Pastor Grant, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Peace and blessings. Happy Monday, everyone. I hope you are ready to start this new day with excitement and you're just ready for the opportunities that are being presented to you to advance, to leap, to shift, to go to some bigger and better things. So I'm excited and I love the opportunity to share.
I love it. Let's go ahead and get started with today's message, business risk management. Now, Pastor Grant, there's a lot of people out here that need to hear this one. So go ahead and let's share what you have for us today.
Right. Well, I really wanted to talk about it because from a biblical perspective about risk management, because a lot of people, especially Christians and believers, have the assumption that I'm just going to pray about it. They have, and which is necessary, right? I absolutely, definitely believe that prayer is essential. We definitely need to be engaged so that we can get our instructions from the Lord, that we can hear the clear vision. We can write it down, make it plain. We can run the race. However, he's also given us the instruction that we don't do it in isolation with prayer only. Faith without work is dead. And so we have to have a acknowledgement and approach by the biblical mandates, right? That good risk management is important. And there are several passages in the Bible that tells us about risk management. Proverbs 22:3. It talks about a prudent man foresees danger and takes precautions. Ooh. The simpleton goes blindly on and suffer the consequences. And so we want to encourage you. What is it saying in there? It says the foolish will fail to recognize or meaning foresee that risk is present. Risk doesn't exist. You cannot eliminate risk.
Right.
But what you can do is prepare for it and you can mitigate its potential impact. And so that's what we're talking about that. Why is this so important? Because a wise person takes adequate precautions to proactively deal with risk. And so this is where we have to be proactive. We have to think those things through. It's just like how you prepare when you purchase a home, the mortgage company that holds the lien requires you to have insurance.
Required.
Their asset. It is not a question of if you would like to. It is mandatory with a lender to have their asset protected. And so even in your business, it is imperative that you recognize how important it is to manage risk so that you are proactive and that you foresee these potential areas of risk. And then you make precautionary due diligence to make sure that you're ready in preparation in case they happen, just like with car insurance. Most of us, if you're like me, I thank the Lord. I have not had any incidents or accidents. Thank you, Jesus. But I have it. I have insurance just in case. And so that's what we want to talk about. The Bible speaks about making sure that we foresee that there's potential danger, and the wise, that's what we're talking about today. The wise considers that, and then they go about preparing for potential incidents. Okay. And so we want to make sure that that is a known, that we are being given that charge to prepare in advance. And so even as we look at Joseph, who had the dream, Pharaoh had the dream, and then he was able to then understanding and clarity of what that dream meant as it relates to a upcoming famine.
Yes.
Right. And so he was able to discern what that upcoming risk was going to be to the people of Israel, what they could potentially have impact, and then how do I now mitigate that? And so they went about saving in their years of plenty for the years that they knew were coming where there would be lack. And so that's what, from a biblical perspective, that's why we want to consider risk, because it is so important that we evaluate. So what is risk in a biblical world sense, in the world, in the natural? So risk management is the process of identifying, assessing, and controlling areas of even your finances, legal, strategic, and security risk of your organization, your business, even if that's your ministry, even if you're a pastor of a ministry, you have a judicial obligation as a fiduciary of your organization to make sure that you are evaluating risk. What could happen? And then how instruments, whether it be insurance or security, what do I need to do to put in place so that I mitigate the potential risk that is most likely to occur? Most often you hear these called threats, right? So what are the threats to our business? What are the threats that could come and also prevent us from being able to operate? What could come and malign our plans that could slow them down or could hinder them? And so that's what you're looking at. You're looking at those elements from a legal perspective, from a financial perspective, from a strategic plan perspective, from a securities perspective. What are those threats that could hit in those particular areas that could cause me damage?
Wow.
Right? And so that's why it's so important that even as we look at risk, what is risk management and why is it so important? Again, you're looking at the fourth unforeseen. Yes, everybody plans, right? We have a wonderful plan, and if everything goes well, praise the Lord. But no man goes into war without weighing up the cost. Wow. And so there's an element of what could happen because we live in this world. Life happens, right?
Yes.
So because life just happens, we don't choose some things. It's just the nature of living in the world. So because they're unforeseen, some things could be very minor, but there's some things that could be catastrophic to your business that could cost you significantly in your finances, that could cost you significantly in your reputation, that could cost you significantly in your brand. Yes. And so that's why it's so important that it could ultimately give you a significant burden that you had not planned on. Some people have had to even shutter their doors. They've had to shutter their doors of ministry. They had to shutter their doors of business. They've had to shutter their doors because some catastrophe occurred that they did not have enough asset or enough risk mitigation cost or expense saved up to manage that. And so here where we want to talk about and go into this just season of risk management, because I don't know about you, this is our year of bigger and better. I've been saying too, this is my year of advancement. But even in moving forward, if I'm going to launch out into deeper waters, if I'm going to move into new lanes of doing business, now I got to think different. Because if I'm going to move to another level, I love what Dr. Walker says, new level, new devils.
Ooh, it's the truth.
Yes. So the higher you go, the more you need to have a foresight. We talked about that the last time we taped, to be when you have a short notice, it often seems short-sighted. And so we don't want to operate short-sighted. We want to think about the long term. We want to plan out. We want to look at it. Some things we need to look at in 30 days, some in 60 days, some by the quarter, 90 days, sometimes half the year. Where are we? Where are we at the half the year? Are we at our target goals? Yes. Are we still on track? And so I'm encouraging you in this as part of risk management that as you chunk the year up, you can see your progress. And then you can also easily see, where do I need to adapt? Yes. Where do I need to pivot? You don't want to wait to the end of the year and find you are so far from your goals, amen, that there's no way you can make it your target by the end of the year. You want to be tracking close enough. What you don't inspect, you can't expect.
Come on now.
You got to be looking at it even as you go along. So that's why risk management is important. A lot of people don't want to take the time, which is the same thing when we started on the series this year. We were talking about how important it is to make your plan. That takes effort. Risk management takes effort. But the effort that you put in it today the effort that you put into writing your risk management plan, identifying your threats, identifying your opportunities, identifying your strength and your weaknesses, as you look at that, then you'll be able to craft a plan around that so that you can have an easy contingency plan to pivot to. And then you already have the mindset, because how many know, Regina, sometimes when you're in an emergency, you got to calm yourself. And sometimes it's difficult to bring your mind in when a lot of things are happening in an emergency, but you got a plan already laid out. You know what to do next. There's no running around. They use that analogy, running around like chickens with their head cut off.
I know.
No to do that.
That's right.
You run around because you have a plan.
That's right.
So the purpose of doing this exercise is to make sure you evaluate so that I have a plan. And so even as you look to launch out, as you look to expand this year, as you look to go into bigger and better, as you look to leap into new things, as you look to shift your levers into another velocity, as you look to move forward faster, you have these plans in place so that you have a contingency plan and that you can pivot when you need to. You can adapt when you need to. So here it is. Our success risk management program will have the legalities, all your contracts, all your internal workings, your social and ethical goals, as well as how do we monitor in technology. We're in a huge technology world. And so we even have an episode we're going to talk about cyber threats and security, and how do you manage that even in your business and even in your home. Some of you are working from home, so even your home business, how do I secure and make sure that my privacy level of information is kept and maintained in a safe way so that I don't have a opportunity for those who are operating in that capacity to do you ill and to do you harm. You have shut the gate on that to the best ability, so that even if they do attempt, and even if they do get in some way, it is not significantly as it could have been. And so we're talking about that. So today we're talking about 3 main steps of the risk management process. We want to talk about risk identification, risk analysis, and risk assessment. That's what we're talking about today. Now that we understand why we need to make risk so important, why it's so important from a biblical perspective as well as a worldview. It is important if you want sustainability. If you want to be here 5 years from now, how many people, raise your hand, you are starting a business, you're not looking for it to shutter or close down. You're not to have some continuity for it to continue, for it to last for generations. You're looking to be able to pass the torch to somebody else, right?
Absolutely.
Doing that, then you have to identify those risks so that you continue to build. And it's on a solid foundation so that it has the strength and the platform that it needs to sustain. You want to establish. And so that even as you go along in the business, you add to it, right? As you grow, as you go into new lanes, you add what you need, but you're not starting from scratch.
And that's super important. People have to understand, Pastor Grant, the legalities and all the information. Thank you, Bianca, for being here in the chats. I see you, girl. Thank you so much for all that. The legalities part of it. This is oftentimes missed when people are creating businesses. Yes, please go ahead. This is very important, informative information.
Yes. And so you don't want to miss it, because some people have even had their business delayed from opening because they haven't checked all the boxes. So when we talked about the legalities, now that you are in business, that does not mean they've stopped. There is still a lot of things that we have to do when you own your business every year. There's some state requirements of renewal. Maybe there's some licensing that you do in your performance of your product and services. You have to make sure that you are monitoring it. I even had that in one of our businesses, that the trigger went off and I was like, oh my goodness, it's time to renew. And so we were rushing around to get done. I said, now, all right, the next year, we've got to have these triggers set a couple of months ahead so that we're not pressed for time. And so as you operate in that capacity, you start to become aware that these things do exist. They're important if you want to sustain in business, if you want to have a good, the Better Business Bureau quote and rating, if you want to have a good reputation, if you want your brand to be well known and in good light with others, if you want to receive a good report, then you need to be managing risk. And so one of the things, wherever you are, is that you identify what are the risks that could happen in my business. right? So when you're identifying them, you might want to think about if you're assessing IT, what is some security threats, ransomware, accidents, natural disasters. If you are a person that is delivering, maybe you have a delivery business, maybe you're one who gives resources. What type of natural disasters that could prevent you from operating in business? What other threats could happen? Maybe you have a third party. Maybe you're providing a distribution of some type of product or service, but you have to receive it from somewhere else. So your risk could also be, what are the risks that this third party has? Because if they have an influencing impact, then your business is halted. So sometimes you have to think about, as you identify risk, what other lanes could influence how you operate. Even during COVID, oh my goodness, that was a huge element of identifying risk to the organization, especially when we started to return back to work. How do we return back safely? What measures did we need to put in place? What engagement instructions? Don't you know, a lot of policies and guidelines were updated. The way that we even operated in the buildings had to change. Maybe even some of the building capacities had to be limited, right? Where we used to want every desk full. Now, wait a minute now. We're in COVID. Everybody can't come in on the same day.
Everybody can't be there. Nope.
Everybody can't be there. So we have to have a capacity level. So those are the kind of things that you need to be thinking about with your organization, with your ministry. I can say from a ministry in our perspective during COVID, wearing masks, sanitation, checking temperatures, those kind of things. Sometimes even in ministry, as you identify risk, what is your risk to behavior? Where's your risk where you're located? Maybe you have a lot of foot traffic. How do you entertain that with others just coming in? Maybe your business is in a place that's isolated. Now, how do you handle? What kind of risk do you have because you're isolated? And so if you do have an incident, how do you have the services that you need arrive in time? Or how do you make sure that they are always present? So these are the kind of things that you want to consider as you identify the risk to your business, as you identify risk to your brand. What is it? Amen. What is that risk that you want to take in account of? What could disrupt your business operations? What is it? And those are the things that you log down. And then you think about it in addition, as you're identifying risk, what are some threats? What could happen out in the marketplace, out in your field, your industry? What could change? Sometimes if you're in a financial business, maybe it's the rates. Maybe a huge swing of the rates could throw you out of business. And so you got to make sure, and we're going to talk about that in our next session about diversification. How do I diversify in a way that even if one area has an incident or has a shortfall, is coming in short, I got enough other things going on that I mitigate the risk of my intended revenue for the month because I have other streams of income occurring. So we're going to be talking about that. But this again goes back to identifying your risk. What is it that could prevent you and disrupt your business operation? What is it that could slow you down in your projected revenue for the month? What is it that could even create added expense that you didn't plan on? What is it? Well, you know what? I've even had some people forget about how important it is to do general maintenance. General maintenance. Not doing general maintenance is a risk.
That's the risk.
Because what you can do in changing, sometimes just changing the filter or just changing some of the things that are just natural maintenance of whatever equipment you have. Sometimes we have equipment and lights blinking and going off and we won't even fix it. Until it's broken. Lights are blinking, trying to give you the warning notice that, listen, I need maintenance. I need care. I need someone to look at me. And then we won't do anything until it's not working.
Oh my goodness.
These are some of the risk levels what about your equipment, right? Your equipment. What happens? Maybe you're in the t-shirt business. Maybe that's wonderful. A lot of business doing that, branding. Yes. What happens if you have one machine? What happens when the machine don't work? What is your plan? Are you ensuring that you're preparing to make sure the life and the health of it is maintained by general maintenance? Or are you putting in your plan, your risk plan, that I've already planned the next 4 years, I'm going to buy a second machine? so that I'll have two working, so one don't have to work so hard. I'll have two running in case one breaks down. I have another to pivot to. This is the kind of planning that you need to be doing ahead. Sometimes you're very human resourced for what you do. What do you do if everybody gets sick? What do you do? Who do you have already that you made relationships with so that I can tap you real quick and get me somebody to come in? A lot of times we're not thinking that far ahead. If you have a catering business, very human centric. You need people to help you get it done. And so what happens when your key people are unavailable? Who do you have waiting on the sideline? Who do you have that knows how you operate?
That's right. Who can step in? All of this is reminding us that we have to think forward in our business, not just current.
Yes. That's all that risk management is about. Foreseeing, discerning what is ahead, and writing down. And you'll be surprised as you start to consider the things that happen. How many more things just pop up? You're like, oh my God, I didn't even think about it. And especially as you do it as a team, which I do recommend, because a lot of times when you are the innovator and you're the entrepreneur, we sometimes have blinders, right? That's why you have a mentor and you have a coach, because they help you to see your blind spots. And so sometimes as we're operating in our capacity, we have some blind spots in some areas we didn't even think about because we think we got that. we think that's solid. We
do that.
I have it solid. Yes, you might have it solid today, but there's a weak link that can show up. How do you prepare for risk in that area? And so having that team, or at least 2 or 3 other people, to say, here's some things that I've been thinking about. Even as you operate, we've talked about before, getting in the network of people who are in your field, who know about your business, or who are extensions of what you do. Having their conversation and just dialoguing with each other and bouncing information gives you a wealth of knowledge. We talked about going online, which is free, and just keying in your business and writing down what are some typical risks relative to that, because I can guarantee you they will give you a laundry list. There are at least several relative to your business where someone else has already gone down that road before you, and they've taken an opportunity to write it so that you won't have to hit the same bumps that they did. Take advantage. Take advantage of the information that is shared based on your line of business. Because I'm sure you will find some, even if it's not exactly what you do, there's that area, that field of study that's close enough that can shine some light on some things that you need to identify as potential risks to your business. Because the whole thing is to remain solvent. We want solvency. We want to be able to recoup. If there is a loss, we want to be able to recoup so we can stay in business and keep going, right? Some things are a blessing and some things are a lesson. Some things happen and it teaches us, okay, next time do it this way. I don't despise lessons, because trials, tribulations, that's how we learn and we grow. But you don't want to have one that leaves you disrupted out of business. And so risk management identification, as you identify risk, is just the start of making sure you level set your business to continue. And so lastly, I know we're getting
love that.
For today, but the other one, as you do your risk analysis and assessment. So after you've written them down, after you talk about, here's some of the things, some of the threats and the opportunities that could present itself. Here's some of my strengths and my weaknesses. And then this is because some of the things you might think about, you have already addressed. Some of the things that you will put on your list, you say, I got that covered. Here's how I'm going to meet that. But then there are likely going to be several on there that you haven't considered. And this is where you do your risk analysis. What is the probability that would happen? How likely? So you want to do, as you do your analysis, how likely? If you get to anything and it's about 50% or 50%, you can kind of say, okay, if 50% of this happened, then I'll do this. But if you're at that 75, 80, 90%, you need to have a good response. You need to have a good assessment within the dynamics of your network. How do I address this if this happens? How do I address if my key person decides they found the best job they've always wanted and they choose to give me their 2-week notice? What do I do from there? If
they walk out the same day, what happens?
Or the same day, or they get sick the same day. What will you do? And you have a human capital centric business. How do you operate? Because remember, you can't do everything. You're going to need help. How do you engage and have early relationships already, maybe with some temp companies? Maybe there are others in your family that you have worked with before, and you say, listen, in the event that something's happened, I'm getting a post that maybe I have assessed this at 50%, but due to some of the things I've seen and I've heard, I need to put this one at 75. That's why the risk plan is not one that sits on the shelf. It is a living and breathing document, just like your business plan. You have to go back to it and look at it and reevaluate it again, because there's some context around that might change.
Absolutely.
Your could shift over a week. Everything could be different. And so you have to be able to go back to it and then decide, how do I perform my analysis, right? What is the probability that it will occur? And then once I understand what is the probability, what is the potential outcome? If it's likely to occur, what would happen if it did? How bad is it? What is the significance of the impact? And then when you look at that and you identify ones that have a high probability and a high impact, that's where you need to be putting your money. That's where you need to be putting your focus. Because if it's a high probability and a high impact, I need to make sure I'm ready. Because if this happens, this could be a disruption to the way I operate. And so you want to make sure that you look at that. Our risk evaluation compares the magnitude of each risk and rates them in accordance to their prominence and the consequence. And that's how you start. That's how you start in your risk analysis. That's how you start in your risk assessment, because everything is not the same. Every incident does not have the same impact. And so you need to evaluate them individually based on your business. What is the significance to you and how you operate? Yes.
This was so good.
Is key.
This was fulfilling. Listen, it was a lot, but you guys, it's necessary. And I would like to one day, Pastor Grant, to maybe do a video where we can help people to find places and things to put in place to help with their risk assessment. Maybe there are some companies, like you said, if you have the whole team get sick, what do? Maybe you can go to these employment agencies. Maybe you have something in place where you have a relationship with them, saying, just in case, I want to have this relationship with you guys, that if this happens, I can call out to you. So I would love us to do a video where we can share tips and advice on stuff like that. Or if the building does, leak, or your equipment is all damaged, what can you do? Who can you contact? Is there a water company that can come out and help get that taken care of? Is there, contractors that can help, all this stuff? Have it in your binder or on your computer, risk management. And here are the contact numbers in case this happened, that happened. So, I would love to do that, because oftentimes we say, have this prepared, but we want to also tell you, here's some more information for it, Here's numbers to contact and so forth. Pastor Grant, this has been so fulfilling and full. I don't even want to hang up. I don't. You guys, risk management is super, super important. And basically, like Pastor Grant said, it is basically thinking forward. It is basically having your insurance in place for your business. Sometimes you don't want to think about all the things that could happen, especially us of our faith. We're like, I don't want to speak that on my business. But you guys, you're not speaking it on your business. You're saying, just in case that little thing try to creep in there.
You're preparing.
You're prepared. That's right. And like you said, we have the insurances. We have insurances. So this is another form of way that you can ensure your business will continue. Thank you, Holy Spirit, that it will keep going, even if some of these things happen. And some people's risk management, Pastor Grant, is so good. They can have so many things going on and the customers will never know.
Yes. And that's the plan. The plan is to have your risk mitigation ready to engage for your contingency plan, so that only the people in the back office know that anything happened. Because you have the enablement, you can move so swiftly. That's why the plan is so important. And having those relationships are so important, because you can move so swiftly. Don't nobody even know that anything happened. And that prevents the disruption, the flow of service to your clients, and the flow of your revenue to your business.
Woo, thank you, Pastor Lorenzo. He said risk management is a must for any side business. Any side business, any current business. Thank you, Aaron, for being here. Thank y'all so much. This has been wonderful, you guys. Remember, Pastor Grant is here every Monday Monday afternoon at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Y'all come on over here to the Juice Radio and Talk Show. If you're watching this on one of our other platforms, remember to become a subscriber today at our YouTube channel, the Juice Radio and Talk Show. You can go over to YouTube and type that in. You see our logo on the screen here with the red mug and the microphone. Subscribe today. Become a subscriber today and help support this channel, you guys. We are so proud and happy to have Pastor Grant here every Monday. Now, you guys can go back and watch the whole series of Money Monday here at the Juice Radio and Talk Show. Just click on the link and you will see the entire series there of any programs that you may have missed. But incorporate these things in your business, you guys, because this is very needed. Pastor Grant, thank you so very much for being here. I appreciate it so very much. Look forward to next week as well. You guys, this has been great. We're going to get out of here. Pastor Grant, any quick closing thoughts before we get out of here?
Yes, I just want to encourage you, as they always say, if you don't plan, you've already planned to fail. And so planning for risk management is so key, because that ensures that even if you have to trigger your contingency plan, you have one.
Come on now. Come on now. Thank you, Bianca. Thank you, Pastor Lorenzo. Absolutely right. All right, you guys. Thank y'all for watching. We'll be back next week with some more information and business tips right here at the Juice Radio and Talk Show with our Money Monday series with Pastor Tawana Grant, Executive Pastor Tawana Grant. All right, y'all. Have a blessed day. We'll see y'all on the next one. Goodbye.
Peace and blessings.